Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Wendy and I am joined by Kai. Welcome to TechSock's Internships 101 panel. We're so excited to have you here. Before we kick off, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. We would also like to pay respect to the elders both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land.
Thanks for that, Wendy. Now, without further ado, we'd like to introduce you to our guest panelists. Tonight, we're lucky enough to have 4 fellow students from UTS FEIT joining us, as well as 2 industry experts, Des and Meg. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us. So to begin, let's start with our industry guests. We'll start with you, Meg. Could you please introduce yourself and give us a little insight into your career experience?
Sure, thanks, Kai. My name's Meg. I work at Google in Sydney, and I work as a talent and outreach program specialist, which means that I manage the tech intern program at Google, which I think is probably the best job in the world. I'm very, very lucky. So I get to hire all of our amazing interns, as well as manage the intern program that we have running over summer. And then I get to do lots of campus outreach events, kind of like this one as well. So very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Wow, sounds good. And now for you, Des, if you don't mind doing the same.
Yeah, likewise, I'm excited to be here tonight as well. Thank you again for the invitation. So I have one thing in common with all you students in that I used to work at UTS. I helped students find internships in FEIT and also managed the BIT scholarship program. Then until 2 weeks ago, I was with WiseTech Global, looking after, on the other side of the table, internship programs and hiring interns and graduates at WiseTech.
Yep, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to move on to our students. So could you please give us your name, what uni you're in, your degree, and any work experience you've had so far? We'll start with Amara.
Hi everyone, so I'm Amara and I'm currently studying IT at UTS, and yeah, I'm in my final year and it's been quite the journey. I've been really lucky to have been able to do 2 internships under the BIT co-op program, but I've also had I've had 2 additional internships on top of that. So luckily I got to experience different types of roles at each placement as well. So I did a bit of BA stuff at Woolworths Group, user experience design at Deloitte Digital, risk assurance at PwC, and now I'm in the middle of rotating between the risk and cyber team at TAL, which is a life insurance company.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Moving on to Carmela.
Hi guys, my name is Carmela. I am currently studying a degree, bachelor degree of engineering in data engineering. I'm currently in my 3rd year of my 5th year degree, so not too long to go. The work experience that I've had, luckily, I had the opportunity to do a 6-month internship with IAG, Insurance Australia Group. For those who aren't aware of IAG, they are a conglomerate company in Australasia who's in charge of many national insurance brands, including NRMA and CGU. And I just recently completed that at the beginning of May. So yeah, thank you.
That's really cool. Andrew?
Hi everyone. I'm Andrew, currently 3rd year Biscuit student at UTS, obviously. So I did a 1-year internship at Challenger Limited. It's like a annuities company, doing security analysis and incident response stuff. And I'm currently a junior cybersecurity consultant at Context Information Security.
Awesome. And last but not least, Jai.
Hey everyone, so my name is Jai. I'm been at uni for too long, so I think I'm second last year, so penultimate year student. I did a 4-month internship at freelancer.com last year as a security engineer, and currently working as a solution consultant at ServiceNow, which is a software company.
Yep, thank you so much for that, everyone. As you can see, with our panelists, we've got heaps of experience. So with that, I think we should just jump right into it. To start off, this question is for the students. Why did you decide to take up an internship? Again, starting with Mara.
Okay, so I guess I took up internships outside of my degree because I wanted more experience. I already had 2 internships that were part of my degree, but I wanted to learn more, and I think I wasn't sure what path I wanted to go down. So I was like, what better way to find out than to actually try different things? Which is why I applied for completely different things. Like I did risk assurance at PwC and then UX design at Deloitte. But yeah, that's kind of the reasoning behind why I went for internship.
Yep, definitely. Did other students have like a similar experience? I'll go with Andrew.
Mine was kind of slightly different. So I, since the start of uni, have kind of known what I wanted to do. So I've always been pushing myself in that direction. And I kind of took the internship just because I had sort of gone through one of the courses at UTS, security fundamentals. And I was like, okay, now that I know this, how is it applied in the workplace? So mine was very much sort of like I wanted to learn by doing vibe, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. What was your experience like, Jai? What kind of drove you to take up an internship?
Mine was very similar to Andrew's sort of reasoning, which was just I wanted to do something. So I'd been at uni, I think, for 3 years at that point. Yeah, so I'd been at uni 3 years, and it's just been a learning, right? And I haven't been able to actually apply that anywhere. And so I was like, I need to get out there, I need to do something, and that's where the internship came in.
Yeah, awesome. Carmela?
My reasoning is probably different from probably Amara, Andrew, and Jai. If you guys weren't aware, an engineering degree at UTS actually involves 2 6 months placement if you don't do a combined degree. But from my experience at IAG, I was able to actually get these hands-on experiences, and I do think I'll be doing more internships outside of my degree. So yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for that.
Following up on Andrew and Jai, you guys said that after your internships, you pursued something more in that industry. What was it that made you guys pursue that professional role after your internship? Was there something specifically, or starting with maybe you, Andrew?
My answer's a bit crude. I just like breaking stuff. So going into like security consultancy, penetration testing kind of, it's always really appealed to me. So I guess that kind of, after going into an internship role, I was like, okay, I've got experience now. Now I'm more attractive to hiring managers, and I can learn on the job as I go, even if there is sort of a different application of my knowledge. So I guess it's kind of that.
Okay, fair enough. And how about you, Jai? Was it something similar or completely different?
Mine was I kind of went the other way around. So I really enjoyed my security engineer internship, but then I saw this other role as a solution consultant, which was in pre-sales, and I was like, this looks kind of interesting. So I just completely pivoted because I enjoyed working, right? I mean, who doesn't like money? So I just kind of was like, hey, let's give it a shot, and I just went for it. And it's just been better since, because otherwise I'm just constantly learning and I'm not actually applying it anywhere, and it's really rewarding to see your knowledge being applied in the real world and you can actually get something out of it.
Wow, very true, very true. So going on to how you guys got your internship role, what was the application process like? Was there anything you did differently? Something you didn't expect? Maybe starting with you, Amara, again.
Okay, so for this question, I'll talk about my summer vacation roles. So there was a lot of research involved at the start. I did my classic Google searches, looked up people on LinkedIn, see what they did, reached out to people, heard about what they got involved in, and if it was something interesting, I would go and apply for it. But yeah, I remember in second year, I was just applying for everything. And to be honest, it was actually quite a big trek. Like they all had really lengthy processes. For both Deloitte and PwC, there was like an online application. You had your typical resume upload. You would answer some questions about yourself, and then do an online psychometric assessment where they usually ask questions to kind of gauge where you fit in terms of culture and your soft skills like problem solving. But yeah, after that, it was normally like a quick phone interview, usually a HR touch point. And then after that, there was an assessment center. And for those of you who don't know, an assessment center is where you kind of do a few activities, usually in groups. And this usually involves like a case study and a presentation to a few people at the company that you're applying for. But yeah, after the assessment center, I'd have my final interview, usually with someone higher up. And yeah, as you can tell, it was a really lengthy process, and a lot of the other companies I was applying for had really similar kind of application processes as well. So, good tip, it's really important to keep track of them, even if it means, I think, recording everything onto a spreadsheet or Airtable or Notion to track your applications. But yeah, also keep in mind, like, I do realize that it's COVID right now, so some of these application processes might have changed to a more, I guess, virtual friendly platform. I spent the past few months actually trying to apply for grad roles, and a lot of companies I've noticed have shifted their recruitment processes online. For example, one of them that I applied for got rid of the assessment center and kind of moved all the interviews online or made the assessment centers individual rather than group work. But yeah, that's it for me. Wait, actually, sorry. To everyone watching on stream, please don't be discouraged or scared of like everything I've said, because yeah, they can be like quite long processes, but I think you guys can do it. Like the more you apply for things, the more you learn on what you need to improve on, and yeah, regardless of the outcome, it's helpful.
Wow, thank you for that really knowledgeable answer, Mara. Does any of the other students have anything to add, or?
I guess I'll quickly add to that because mine was completely different. So that was like a really lengthy and long process, whereas I was lucky enough so I had a friend who told me that there's this Facebook group for like Sydney security students, and I went onto that Facebook group and there was somebody advertising like roles on there, and I was like, and they were just like, hey, DM me and send me your resume. So I did that. That got passed on to the HR manager at Freelancer, who then got in contact with me, and then I just had a technical interview, and that was it. So I guess like there's two routes, right? There's obviously you can like apply to companies and stuff, but leverage the people that you know, because I personally I think 9 times out of 10 people will be more than happy to just have a conversation, point in the right direction, and the more people you sort of know, and you can sort of leverage that. So there is that path as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Jai.
Could I just add to what Jai said?
Yeah, of course.
It's really important. Don't just stick to the tried and true normal traditional methods. Do reach out to all your contacts. You never know who may know somebody that's looking for somebody just like yourself.
Very good point. Thank you for that, Des.
I want to add in terms of how people or students can apply for internship roles. If you guys aren't aware, there are a lot of job ads on UTS Careers, and they do put a lot of job ads for different faculties or even different disciplines. And honestly, I feel like there's not enough students going on that route. I feel like there are a lot of students going straight to the company's websites. I feel like UTS Careers actually has such a great network of different companies that are willing to reach out through this actual community. And I feel like students should actually use that more to their advantage, because you never know, because that basically led a lot of people that I know to their internships and their current employment as well. So yeah.
Just
Thanks.
off the back of Carmela's thing, that's how I got my internship, was actually through UTS Career Hub. It's really helpful resource.
Yeah, that's like how I got my one as well.
Awesome. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, Andrew, or was it all covered pretty much what you were going to say?
I think it's all covered.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that. This one's kind of related, but a bit on the flip side as well. And this question's for Des and Meg. What tips do you have for students applying for internships? What do you look for in potential interns during like interviews and each stage of the application process? We'll start with Des.
Okay, so one of the things that I like to see is a short resume, and if it may scare some people to realise that if you have a long resume, it's just not going to get read. So try and just stick to the main, most important points in your resume. And if you're after some tips, just Google creative resumes or creative tech resumes, and that will come up with some what I think are great ideas. As I said before, make use of your contacts. The other thing that you really need to demonstrate is your passion. What are your passions? That's really important. So that's just a couple of things in a nutshell.
Yeah, perfect. Hitting the nail on the head right there. Thanks for that, Des.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely add on to the short resume. I'm currently reviewing all our intern applications, and the amount of resumes that come through that are like 4 or 5 pages, I'm like, I have like 1,000 to read. I cannot read 4 or 5 pages. Also on that note, make sure you put the most important stuff first as well. That's so important. And as students, like frankly, that's your education. We need to know if you're eligible for certain internships as well. So make sure you include when you're going to be graduating or when you think you'll graduate. Maybe don't put the fact that you were vice captain of your primary school as the first thing. One that I saw. Put the most important things right at the top, because that's the first thing that recruiters and people at companies will see. What to look for in interviews. So as interns, we're not expecting you to be like star coders, star software engineers already. What we really want is your willingness to learn. Take hints from your interviewer, show that you're really excited and you can kind of pivot, change your answer up, look at different alternatives. It's not the quality of the code, it's like how you attack the problem that we're really looking for. Because frankly, when you start an internship at Google, like you'll be taught a lot of this stuff anyway. You need to have that willingness to learn and accept when you maybe made errors as well. And then what was the last part of the question? Was that it? Anything else?
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Pretty much covered everything, yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
I do know a couple of people who don't actually have any type of experience in terms of applying to internships, and they kind of find it a little bit intimidating as per se. But I do know that there's websites that do offer virtual internships. Is that type of experience that you would actually consider in an application?
Yeah, definitely. They're great to work on maybe towards the start of your degree a little bit more, when it's a little bit trickier to get like in-person paid internships. But virtual ones are definitely great. Just make sure you really highlight what you did in that internship in your resume if you don't have a lot of experience. Talk about what technical skills you've picked up and how you use those in your internship, instead of just listing where you worked and then listing like all your coding languages later on. Like embed what you've done into your experience instead.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Meg said, and any experience that you can get, no matter what it is better than nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just working on projects at university.
I think you're on
mute.
Thanks for that. Thank you so much for your insightful answers, guys. You really hit the nail on the head there. Quick note for anyone watching, if you do have any questions for any of our student panelists or any of the industry reps, just note them in the chat below and someone will put them into a sheet for us and your question might be asked to someone on the panel. All right, moving on. For the students, as an intern, what is some type of the work that you're going to get involved in? Or what does your typical day look like? If you want to give us a rundown, maybe starting with you, Carmela, this time.
Okay. So my typical day in the internship, it would start off with a quick stand-up, quick 30-minute stand-up with all of our updates in terms of the projects that we're currently doing. I was very fortunate enough to be working with real life projects that actually made an impact with their current projects that they're working on in terms of all of the different insurance services, making things more efficient and more faster in terms of applying that to business roles. And then after the quick stand-up, we'll go all for a quick coffee break upstairs, and then come back down, work on our projects for a while, have lunch, repeat that process, and then maybe even around 3, since it does get boring and very tedious, we tend to go upstairs and, you know, grab ourselves a cup of coffee and just have a chat. What I really liked about my experience at IAG is that they're very community-based. So they know that overworking is probably not very ideal for every person, since it does get boring, it does stress a lot of people out. And for me, being one of the youngest people in my project team, they made sure that I felt very welcome, which was really great, because the end of the internship, I actually felt very, very sad that I had to go. So I feel like if you have that feeling inside you of that you don't want to leave the internship, that internship actually impacted you positively, and you've taken advantage of that internship to its fullest capacity. So yeah.
Perfect. Did Amara or have anything to add to that?
Not really. I think something I did in some of my internships was I would book a lot of like one-on-one meetings with different people from different teams, and I'd try and like kind of suss out what they were doing. This happened at Deloitte actually. I was in the UX team, but I booked a lot of one-on-ones with people from different teams and sit with someone new every day. And yeah, like even at Woolworths Group, my first internship, I talked to someone who was in the UX UI space, even though I was in the BA team. And because of that, I found out that like the digital space was an area I wanted to get into.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Amara. Jai, did you have anything different to what Kamala and Amara said? Andrew, anything you wanted to add, or?
I had a little bit. My internship experience was like I very much was put on the low level work, and I know that doesn't sound amazing, but to me at the time it was awesome. But like, don't be sort of put off by that, because you do learn a lot when you are doing those like basic, it might seem mundane, but doing those day-to-day tasks that maybe the other team members don't want, you do learn a heap that you probably wouldn't even think about before you'd started your internships.
Awesome. Thanks for that, guys.
Yeah, so moving on to the next question, and this is like on an extended note as well, but this is for Des and Meg again. What should students typically expect when going into an internship? Maybe we'll start with Meg this time.
Sure. So an internship at Google, you'll get to work on a project that you'll own, which is quite cool. We don't have interns coming in and, you know, fetching coffee, and maybe that doesn't happen as much anymore anyway. But you'll get to come and work on some real life products at Google, which is really exciting. You'll have a host and a co-host. You'll also be given a mentor. And then there's lots of other things that you get to do. I feel like interns at Google like spend like maybe 50% actually doing their project. So you'll get to join lots of team meetings. You'll get to come to our, I think it's monthly TJF meetings now, which is the global meeting on a Friday that Sundar usually hosts. You get to go to lots of trainings as well. We have an internal training platform, and you can sign up for heaps of different courses that you can do with people in Sydney or outside. Lots of social activities as well. We have a social committee, so they organise lots of things throughout the program. I think our interns last summer actually broke the record in an escape room, which is quite impressive, which is quite cool. What else is there? And lots of networking as well. Like Amara said, you want to come in and book a bunch of one-on-ones with people. We have a program called Lunch Ninjas as well. So you just kind of sign up and you can get randomly assigned to anyone in Sydney for a lunch or a coffee chat. But you can also extend that out and book time with anyone globally if you're interested to hear about a different team or a different product area as well. So you're quite busy. yeah, but not doing too much work, but a bit of work.
That sounds awesome. Des, what would you think that students should expect going into internships?
I think as what's already really been said, real work, I think that's something that you will be given. As Meg said, you won't be, well, hopefully not, won't be asked to make coffees. Another thing that I would, I always did encourage people to do is treat the other team members a bit like a sponge. Whilst you're there on your internship, you want to soak up as much information and knowledge as you can. Also, just want to reiterate what Amara said. I was impressed when she said she reached out to other teams that was unrelated. It's important to do that. That's another way of just finding out more about the organisation that you're in, just finding out about the different teams, and also it demonstrates that you're keen to learn new things as well.
Just on top of that, if your internship does do hot desking, which basically means that you don't actually have a situated desk and that you can actually move around your entire floor, I would say take that advantage and sit at different spots per day, because you never know who's actually you're going to be next to. And sometimes I find that sitting with different people from the different project teams would actually help, because you'll actually get their perspective on something that you might not even thought of for that specific project or ticket that you're even working on. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Moving on to the next question, unless anyone has something else to add.
Nope.
So this one's for the students, but maybe the industry reps, like, you'll have something to say about this as well. But this is about like imposter syndrome. So like, have you ever faced imposter syndrome before? And how did you like work with it or like try and overcome it? Maybe starting with Amara.
Yeah, so plenty of times actually. Recently I was in an assessment center and I was like, oh no, everyone's like way more amazing than me. And it really didn't help when I started like finding them on LinkedIn and seeing that, wow, they were really on top of their game. So I had to learn to be more confident in myself, because yeah, sure, they have so much experience, but this doesn't make your own journey invalid. It's the quality that matters as well. And I think what helped was that before I started applying for everything, I kind of sat down, made a list of everything, like my strengths, my weaknesses, challenges I've overcome, what I was interested in and why, my goals for an internship, what I wanted to get out of it. But yeah, I think it was really useful because it really helped me become more confident in myself. And yeah, another time I faced imposter syndrome is when I was at Deloitte. I was actually meant to start my placement in the front end dev team, but it was literally a week before I was meant to start. I was like, oh no, I actually don't really know how to code. Like I'm not very amazing at it. So I was like, what am I doing here? Classic imposter syndrome. So I kind of panicked and asked them to put me in the UX team instead. They were nice enough to, but it wasn't until I was in the middle of my internship that I realized that the other interns in the front end team was like they only knew basic HTML and CSS anyway. So this was like a case where I realized that I doubted myself when really I should have been a bit more confident in myself and given it a go anyway. So yeah, that's just my experience.
Yeah, it's really good advice. Did you have anything to add on to that? Maybe Andrew?
Yeah, I think Amara touched on it a little bit. But like, even if you don't have like knowledge in the workplace, you're still providing like another set of eyes and another perspective on problems. So like, even if you don't have technical knowledge, or if you don't know what I don't want to say don't know what you're talking about, but if you have no idea what's going on, you're still able to contribute in your own way. And it's pretty hard to sort of wrap your head around it, but like, yeah, just it's hard to get that into your head to start with, but eventually you do realize it. It does take a bit though.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really good advice. Carmela, did you have any similar experiences?
I would say that before I got the internship that I just completed, I got a lot of rejections from other companies, and it was because I didn't have enough experience, or I wasn't in penultimate year, or I wasn't graduating soon enough, and that kind of basically degraded me for a bit. But I feel like persistence is pretty much key into, and motivation, and wanting to pursue what your passion is. I feel like that is your key motivator into actually succeeding in what you really want to achieve in life. And I find that if you do believe in yourself a little bit more than maybe you think you do, I feel like that will also help you a lot with what you think you can do, because sometimes you don't think you can do it, but you really can do it. So yeah.
That's a great mentality to have. Did you have a similar experience, Jai?
So I guess I'm kind of lucky in a way, because so the people that I've sort of surrounded myself with and I hang out with most, they're kind of above my level in a way. And so coming back to Amara's point on how she made like a list of her strengths and what she wanted to do, I can use the people around me to like really confirm what I do know, because you might be able to sit there and say, oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, or I'm not so good, but we're all going to have that slight bias towards itself. So you might, like, I guess, if you are, have like imposter syndrome, you might be internally negatively biased towards yourself. So having somebody else either confirm or deny it is really, really helpful. So I think a really good piece of advice would be try and seek out some people who are either, at your level or above kind of thing, which is, again, going to be difficult if you already think you're not that good. So it's difficult, but if you can do that, it really, really helps to get other people around you to sort of say, you know what, you're actually better than what you think you are, or you might need work on this, and this is how you can get there. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, awesome. Des and Meg, did you have anything to kind of add to that conversation?
I think, as Amara and Camilla said, it's often going to happen, the imposter syndrome, but it's important to just believe in yourself. You're not the only one to feel that way, or you're not the first one to feel that way. I guess that's all I could add.
I know a lot of people at Google suffer imposter syndrome, and frankly, it's not something that goes away. It'll always kind of bubble up. There's people who are leading huge teams in the Sydney office in the engineering space, and they tell me that they have imposter syndrome sometimes as well. So, no matter where you are, if you're intern level or you're leading the company, imposter syndrome bubbles up. So maybe that'll make you feel a little bit better that everyone's kind of in the same boat. And I really like Jay's point about talking to people and asking them what you think, what they think your strengths are as well. If you're going, through the process of applying for internships and you're feeling a bit down, maybe just ask like someone who's close to you. It doesn't have to be like a colleague. Like give your mum a call, ask her to tell you how awesome you are. That might help.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Moving on to the next question.
Cool, some great tips there, guys. So I guess imposter syndrome is usually linked to like people being daunted by the whole idea of an internship, especially if it's like their first internship. So on that note, do you have any advice for people who are applying for their first internship, especially if they don't know what to expect? Are there any sort of pointers that you'd give directly? This is probably for Des and Meg, but if you guys had anything to add after, you're welcome to. Maybe starting with you, Meg, if that's all right.
Sure. So you're all uni students. We're not expecting you to have a bunch of experience. I think that's something you kind of have to remember, and that's kind of tricky if you see other people's experience, students, and have a bunch. You don't have to have years of experience behind you. You don't have to have a bunch of internships. It's just really showing that you're passionate about what you do, and you can do that in other ways, as Des mentioned before, in personal projects and university projects. Going to hackathons, leading student societies. There's all this cool stuff that you can do that maybe isn't directly work experience to really kind of set yourself apart. And when you start an internship as well, we kind of know where you're at. We understand that you're coming in and you're there to learn. It's really for development of yourself. We're hoping that you can, produce some amazing work as well and lead a project or a feature or something. But it's really about developing your skills, and that's something that we really focus on at Google. You know, it's about developing your technical ability, your soft skills, all of those things as well. So just kind of remember that going in.
Perfect. Some great pointers there. Des, was there anything you want to add to that, or?
Other than to just echo what Meg said, you've been employed for a reason. It's not just by chance. So obviously the organisation that you're working for has felt that you have particular skills and knowledge to bring to the table. So you I guess you utilise them. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, awesome. That's really good advice. In relation to the idea of like you're at an internship to develop skills, this question is kind of for everyone, but how can students best kind of prepare themselves for an internship? Maybe starting with Amara again.
I'm going to interpret this as like preparing for an internship, like after you get an offer. Like, I think it's important to set goals, like what do you want to get out of it, whether it is to find your interest, to upskill, or to contribute, or to broaden your connections. But if the question's asking like something in terms of how do you upskill yourself, I would say working on side projects is really important. Like for example, for UX UI, the way I upskilled was I found something called a daily UI challenge where you get like prompts to like design your own thing. And I'll do that like every now and then. I'd have a look at designers on Dribble or Instagram, see what trends are like. But yeah, that's my view on it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really helpful. Jai, did you have any ways that you would prepare or upskill when going into an internship?
I just wanted to add to Amara's point about setting goals before going in. Once you do get the internship, make sure you have regular one-on-ones with your manager. That's like a get-go from like day one. Get that organized so you can constantly make sure that you're actually hitting those goals. But outside of that, personally, when I got the offer, I kind of just celebrated and I didn't do anything until I had to rock up to the office. I mean, there's usually a lot of, not a lot, but there's a decent amount of paperwork, like some HR work, like you say, your bank details and tax forms and this and that. So get on top of that and get that out of the way as soon as possible, because you may, get really excited that you got an offer and then you forget about doing all those mandatory forms. So I guess do those, and then you can, I guess, push yourself a little bit, study or learn something, but I think it's nice to take a little break, especially if your internship, say, it starts in like 2 weeks. So take 2 weeks off something. That's how I did it anyway.
Yeah, those are really good things to keep in mind. Carmela, what was your experience like?
In terms of how to best upskill and prepare themselves for an internship, like what Amara and Jai have already said, create goals, because you're the only person that knows yourself better. So knowing what you're good at and what you want to improve on, whether it is hard skills or soft skills, that is something you can do with your manager. And I would like to re-emphasize Jai's point on actually having those one-on-ones with your manager. I did that during my internship, and I had that every fortnight, and that would be one of the best things that I've done. It helped me where I was lacking. He told me where I needed improvement on, and basically your manager will be the one who's pushing you out of your comfort zone. Like, it helped me so much in terms of like communicating with other people, since working in an environment with like professional people against you as a uni student might sound very intimidating and make you feel inferior, when it's usually not, because everyone's working collaboratively and working as a team. So yeah, just in terms of when they do get like an offer from an internship, I would suggest try to go through, sometimes companies do send out welcome packages. So I feel like that's a very important, I guess, first step into preparing themselves for an internship, because a lot of those welcome packages actually state a lot of things that will get them ready. And I don't know if people sometimes overlook it, but I was told by our during our welcome talk that a lot of people actually tend to not refer back to it during their internship. So I would say that as a tip. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Some really important things there. Andrew, did you have anything to add on to that?
I don't want to echo those points because they are, you've heard it 3 times there, and it is really important. But something that I feel like we might have missed a little bit is make sure you know what the role is as well. Like, I feel like researching what you should be expecting when you go into your internship as well, just so that you're not let down from the role thinking that you've applied for something and then having it be something completely different. So I feel like that's also pretty important. And then trying to immerse yourself in it as much as you can without actually being in the role so that you do feel like that you can contribute from day one. That's how I avoided imposter syndrome, just going back to that.
Just to add on to Andrew's point, if you do end up going into the interview process, ask those questions that you don't understand because they're the people who knows the position better than you. So if you don't know anything, for example, certain coding languages, for example, for me, they showed Green Plum. So I asked them, do I really need to know Green Plum? And they said no. So yeah, I think asking even it might sound like a dumb question, but they're really not dumb questions. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Meg and Des, did you have anything to add on to that or any similar recommendations from your end?
Just rather than just like Andrew, just want to echo what everyone else has said. But the next step, I guess, in the preparation is to many of good organisations will assign you to a buddy or a mentor, and I would strongly encourage everybody to make as much utilisation of those people as you can, because you'll often find that your manager that you're assigned to will be quite busy at times, whereas you're much more likely to get some time with your buddy or mentor and just utilise them as much as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, just a big +1 to what everyone else has said. You guys have nailed it.
Awesome. Moving on.
Yeah, so this is more for Carmela. You said that your internship was a part of your degree at uni. What was the process of this like? Was there any subjects that you completed that helped specifically in the area that you were interning in? Or just give us a bit of insight into that.
So I think people who study engineering, it's already embedded in their degree. So they actually have to look for an internship independently. But when they do find that internship and once they do actually get accepted in that role, there's some certain paperwork or some certain forms that need to be filled up by students through UTS careers. And that will just be in terms of just basic insurance, I guess, and to properly enroll students in their internship subjects. If you're doing just engineering by itself with the Diploma of Professional Engineering Practice, I believe that you get enrolled into Engineering Work Experience 1 and Work Integrated Learning 2. But if you're, say, doing engineering with a combined degree, you actually get enrolled to a 3-month course. Since if you do a combined degree, it's actually half of the 6-month that only single engineering degrees actually hold. And that subject is called Engineering Workplace Experience. So they're very similar. It's just writing up reflections and doing some assignments that go alongside with your internship and constantly updating, I guess, the UTS about your progress into obtaining Engineers Australia competency claims. So yeah. in graduate.
Wow,
attributes. So yeah.
thanks a lot for breaking all that down, Carmela. Appreciate that. So that was really informative, everyone. We're going to now move on to some live questions from the audience tonight. So a question to Meg and Des. Does a company prefer domestic instead of international students? Is that something you look for when you're going through applications and assessing them? Des, do you want to maybe share some insight into that?
That's better if I turn the microphone on. Sorry about that. Yes, you'll find that many organisations do have a preference for local or domestic students. Yes, and one of the reasons for that is because organisations are looking not just at the internship, but obviously for future potential graduate employment as well.
So at Google, we look at both international and domestic students. And the reason for this is we can offer you a graduate role, and most international students will have 2 years after they graduate work authorization in Australia. So as long as you have that 2 years after you graduate, we can then sponsor you after that. And then as long as you can work full-time during the 12 weeks of the internship over summer, international students are completely fine to apply in, and we look at your application. So.
Thank you both for those answers. Moving on, do you guys, when you're interning, do you ever have to work overtime? Have you ever had to experience that? Maybe the students. Amara, do you want to start with that?
Honestly, no, I've never experienced that. Has anyone else? It's quite chill.
To be honest, not working overtime, but I guess in terms of once you start your internship and doing your certain projects, this was in my case, I didn't understand, or I wasn't very good at Java. So I made it something I would do after my 9 to 5 shift. And then once I go home, I'll go do some courses online in terms of Java. So I wouldn't say it's overtime, but it's more of like a personal learning goal, I guess. So yeah.
I
Yeah,
did have to
absolutely.
actually. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I did at one point have to work on a Saturday, but that's just due to the nature of the role because it was in security incident response. Yeah, but I guess it just depends on what sort of role you go into as well.
Yep, absolutely. So we have a few Google-related questions for Meg. The first one is, do we need a distinction average to get accepted into Google?
No, frankly, I'm not even looking at your university results at the moment. That's not something I'm looking at when I'm looking at resumes. So hard no.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Another one for Meg. So engineering degrees at UTS require students to undertake 6-month internships. Is Google able to facilitate something like this?
Unfortunately, not at this stage. Our internship program only runs for 12 weeks over summer, and those dates are set. We can't unfortunately do 6 months at this stage. Might be something that we look at down the track, but not for the time being.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, thanks for that. So a question that comes up a lot when people are applying for jobs, internships. So you run into the problem where jobs require experience, but in order to get those experience, you have to apply for jobs. So do you guys have any insights into how students or anyone sort of, I guess, going for internships can get around this problem? Maybe Des, you want to start with this one? Oh, never mind.
That's okay, Des. I think we've touched on this a few times, but what you can do instead of, paid work experience, jump on and do, hackathon coding competitions. All of that gives you experience and you get to flex those technical skills. Work on personal projects, create a website, have a GitHub account, all those kinds of things definitely help. As well as your university projects as well. If you don't have a lot of experience, flesh that out on your resume. Talk about how you kind of showed leadership and teamwork, collaborated and use those technical skills at university to work on a project. Those are some big things, as well as, work with, university societies as well. That's a really great way to kind of show leadership and initiative as well, which is something that's really important. It's not just your technical skills that we're looking at for internships. It's also that teamwork, that collaborative nature, willingness to learn, showing leadership, all those kind of things, and communication skills as well. Over you, Des.
I think you've nailed it all, Meg. Yeah, and I'm particularly impressed with, the number of students who do well are often those that are actively involved with the different student societies. So keep that up, guys.
Thank you so much. This is kind of related, kind of not, and I want to throw this out to everyone. A question that comes up a lot is, how do you maintain a good work-study-life balance? Any mental health tips or things to kind of be mindful of or look out for? Starting with Amara.
Honestly, at the moment, I am kind of struggling to juggle everything, especially because I'm working from home. But if any of you guys have tips, I'm listening.
Yep, maybe Carmela.
Something my team did during our meetings, we often dressed up or had a themed meeting, so we would dress up for certain meetings on our Friday stand-ups most of the time, just to keep morale up, because it is difficult during the situation right now, when everyone's currently working at home or doing classes at home. Obviously, it's kind of lonesome. It's very difficult just to keep that mental health up high. But I think one of the reasons, or one of the ways to actually get that good work-study life balance is to have interests outside of uni and work. Do that outside of classes. For example, if you like sports, go to the park, play soccer, or go to gym. Or, for example, if you like dancing, go take dance classes. Or if you like photography, go out with your friends, take photos of the scenery. Make that a little adventure for you and your friends as well. But yeah, what I'm doing right now for COVID, call your friends up over a Zoom call, make a wine paint class or something like that. Make it virtual fun for you. So yeah.
Yep, those are some really awesome tips. Did you have anything to add on to that, Andrew?
Nah, not really. It really just boils down to remembering that it's work-life balance. Like, work isn't life, so it's really important to sort of keep that in the back of your head and get away from it sometimes, especially in the climate today.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to be mindful of. Anything you wanted to add, Jai?
Big thing for me is I use a calendar. I'm a very organized person, I guess. And I have a hard sort of, after X time, I'm not going to be in my room. I'm going to go outside. So there's another thing, I compartmentalize my life. So if I'm currently given, a situation, if I'm in my room, I'm either going to be doing uni work or I'm going to be doing work, right? And there's nothing else that happens in the room. So as soon as I leave that room, it's my brain shuts off from work. So I think having zones in your life and using a calendar or something to organize it really helps. And just force yourself to get out sometimes. You're I just want to work, another line of code or something on this project. But it's just sometimes you have to force yourself out. That's what really works well for me.
Yeah, awesome. So work-life balance doesn't get any easier, especially as you go into the workforce. So Meg and Des, do you guys have any tips on dealing with, just how to keep everything in check?
I really like what Jai had to say. I tend to be a bit like that myself. Compartmentalize. I got it out. Things, and it's important. Well, I feel it's important to really do that. Otherwise, you just get stuck doing one thing. And I like the idea of having the room that you're in is for work or study, and nothing else. And yeah, and it's especially at these times, it's really important to get outside and get a bit of fresh air at times as well.
This is not the first, nor.
Thank you.
I think it's important to have a start and stop time. That's true when we're working in the office, especially if you're in a place that has like flexi time, that you can always stay longer and do more. And that's so true at the moment. You can always just stay on your computer and do more. Give yourself a stop time. That's really important. And I think as well, depending on your team, but try and be open with the people who you work with as well. They can really be your support network, and if you do need to, take some more time back, they'll really understand if you're kind of keeping them in the loop as to what's happening with you. And by that same token as well, make sure you check in with the people around you, always asking how they're doing, especially during these times. And I liked Carmela's idea of booking in Zoom chats and chats with your friends and stuff, but do that during the day as well. Like if you're at uni, you're gonna see someone in the park and bludge off for like half an hour and chat about nothing. Try and replicate that if you can during your day as well. I know I have like a random coffee chat with a few people a week, and I don't talk about work at all. I'm literally just talking about my cat and that I'm excited to go for a walk and all that kind of exciting stuff that's happening. Try and replicate those conversations as much as possible, so you're not just working for 8 hours straight every day.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome advice.
Some great points there, guys. Quick one. Do you recommend applying for internships during this time, with all the COVID stuff going on at the moment?
Yes, definitely. The world is not stopping. We still need people in internships. We're still hiring. Please still apply for roles. They might look a little bit differently, especially if internships are happening, in the next few months. And, we don't know what's going to happen come summer as well, but please still apply for internships.
Yes, I would agree. Sorry, yes, I would agree. Yeah, yes, definitely keep applying. And as Meg said, it's going to be different, but yeah, keep trying.
Some great advice, just what I thought you guys were going to say there.
Yeah, just following on, this is again to everyone, but do you guys have any advice on building a professional network for referrals or getting like a leg up in the hiring process in general? Maybe starting with one of the students, Amara.
Well, I don't know, I kind of just go to a lot of networking events, for example, the ones run by TechSoc, just to kind of, not to get referrals or anything, but to kind of find out what people are up to in industry, listen to advice, see if they have any advice on how to upskill and stuff. But yeah, I think it's really important to go to networking events and meetups as well. I recently went to a UX meetup at Canva, and there it was funny because I ran into a few of my workmates from Deloitte as well. So yeah, it's good to go to these events.
Awesome. Anything to add, Andrew?
No, not really. Amara's hit the nail on the head. Kind of get involved with the community and network around it. A big thing for me, in my mind, is conferences and going to sort of get involved with groups of people. You get those educational talks, but you're also going to, this is going to sound really dumb, but after parties are gold mines for networking. It's really good.
I can OnePlus that to Andrew's point. There's been some really, really good conversations I've had after some conferences in some questionable locations.
Oh, sorry. Did you have any advice on building a professional network in general and just kind of making those connections? Maybe Des?
Nothing other than, as has already been said, it's important to go to networking events and, as Andrew said, conferences. Just reach out as much as you can to as many different people.
Yeah, definitely agree to that. I know it can be a little bit daunting going to those kind of events. I am a bit of an introvert and I find those things kind of terrifying. But just rest assured, there's so many people who are in the same boat who also find it terrifying. And frankly, if you go to a networking event, you just have to ask what people do, what they're working on, what they're passionate about, like what their job entails. It's the easiest icebreaker, and you'll learn a lot as well.
Yeah, that's really good to keep in mind. Thank you.
Sorry, could I just add one other point to that? Is at least this is a mistake that I made when I went to networking events. I didn't really understand the concept that it's a two-way street, right? You might get like a network, like a connection out of somebody, and might find someone. But also keep in mind that you should try and find a way to sort of not benefit them. I guess I don't want to sound too, crude, but like just make sure it's a two-way street. Don't just be there to sort of pull on everyone and try and get all the information and just leave and don't ever show up again. That's just something to keep in mind.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that.
And that brings us to our last question of the night. So kind of a general one, but is there anything you do specifically near the end of an internship that you'd recommend? Any tips to ensure that you leave on a good note or get anything out of it that you may not have over the course of the internship? Might start with Andrew for this one.
I kind of tried to make this is gonna sound really up myself. I tried to make it a big deal that I was leaving. I tried to sort of talk because the best way you can leave a good impression is, yes, you doing the work, but everyone gets the work done. You really want to be memorable around that team, because not only do you make friends out of it, but it gives you a really good chance of them remembering you if you ever apply for a job there or anything. So we had a farewell dinner and all those things. I got them gifts, that sort of thing. It sounds suck-up-ish. It is suck-up-ish a little bit, but at the same time, it does give you a pretty good chance of getting employed there later or in the future.
Wonderful, wonderful. Carmela, do you have something to say to that as well?
I would kind of agree with Andrew. I finished my internship around the time COVID started. So it was kind of a different farewell situation. But I would say what you should do near the end of the internship should be pretty much consistent with what you've been doing throughout your internship anyway. So I would say that maybe towards the end of an internship, maybe ask your team leader or someone in your team for maybe, I don't know, certain certifications maybe you can somewhat complete on that can actually help you. I actually asked my manager if I could learn more about cloud, and he actually gave me a site about Google Cloud platform or on-air fundamentals during March or April, somewhere about that time, and Amazon Web Services. So I guess reaching out for what you still want to learn on would be really great. So yeah, before you say I didn't take advantage of this internship. So yeah.
Cool. Jai, did you have something you wanted to say as well, or?
Yeah, just one thing my manager told me that I should do in the future as well is see if you can get like not a referral, what's it called? Sorry, like a reference in a way. Like if they could write something like saying, hey, this is what Jai or XYZ did so and so. If they're willing to do that, that's really helpful, because then it can sort of show in the future to potential employees that this is what you did, and it's not just you writing about it, it's your manager who actually endorses you for that. So that's something I got told by my manager to do in the future.
Or even their number, because that's probably how applications are more of nowadays, which I was very fortunate enough for my internship anyway. So I guess, yeah, I feel like any of the tips and tricks we've all said is just resounding, but yeah, I guess, yeah.
All right. I guess from the industry perspective, was there anything you wanted to add, Des or Meg, or has it been pretty much covered?
Just one final thing. You have to remember that the internship is basically a long job interview. That's what you need to have in your mind, that's effectively what you're, and in many ways it's much better than a normal job interview as well, because you're able to really demonstrate what you can do. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, Des. I think It's also worth like chatting with like HR or whoever's like hiring at the end of your internship as well to see kind of what the headcount situation might be when you're looking for a new grad role. On that note as well, try and do some mock interviews with people that you work with. That's super useful for any further internships or new grad roles. Use that as much as possible because the more mock interviews you do, the better you're going to be at interviewing in the real life. And then finally, send like a farewell email with your details and also thank the people that helped you out. So if you had like a mentor or buddies, anyone who helped you out with stuff, thank them and thank them by emailing their manager. Like that makes a really big deal. You know, they've invested a lot of time in you, you know, show that appreciation and make sure that they're getting recognized from their manager as well.
Some great pieces of advice there. Thank you, guys. Unfortunately, though, that's all the time we do have for tonight. So on behalf of UTS Tech Society, I'd like to give a huge thank you to Jai, Andrew, Carmela, Amara, and especially our industry guests, Meg and Des, for joining us tonight, being so generous with their time.
I mean, I just want to speak for everyone who tuned in tonight and saying that you've all given us an incredible insight into kind of everything internship related. I know I learned a lot of things, and like I'll definitely be applying a lot of this information for when I'm looking for my own internships.
And also to add on to that, a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight on Twitch. It's been great to see so many people engaging and sending through questions. Sorry we couldn't get around to everyone's question, but I hope you still got something out of tonight's event nonetheless.
Yeah. And on a final note, if anyone does have any feedback or comments about our event, please fill in our feedback form. We'd love to hear what you've all thought about this, if there's anything else that we can do and how we can improve for next time. So definitely leave your suggestions.
And on the last note, thank you again for everyone for joining us. Have a good night. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you.